Imagine this. You're stepping into this vast, almost silent wilderness. Snow everywhere, trees stretching for miles, maybe a frozen lake shimmering. That's the Arctic in Finland and Sweden.
Breathtaking, definitely.
Absolutely breathtaking. But also challenging, right? Especially getting around, navigating those huge distances seamlessly. That's the puzzle.
Yeah, how do you avoid the travel stress and just soak it all in?
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really drilling down into FinlandTour.fi's cab transfer services.
Okay.
Our mission really is to unpack what makes these services a go-to option for people traveling up there. We'll look at key routes, the practical stuff, the details.
Kind of figure out their whole service philosophy, kind of how they approach simplifying Arctic travel.
Precisely. And just to be clear, all this comes directly from FinlandTour.fi's own website.
Right. We're looking at their cab transfer pages, the information they put out there themselves. So it's their own words we're analyzing.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, a really popular route. The cab transfer from Kiruna in Sweden over to Rovaniemi in Finland.
Yes, the gateway to Lapland.
That's it. It's a significant trip, not just a quick jaunt. So what are they actually offering travelers here? What's the pitch?
Well, what's interesting right off the bat is how they frame it. They talk a lot about a seamless, comfortable, and convenient experience.
Seamless.
Comfortable.
Convenient. Okay.
Yeah. And, in the Arctic with those distances and potentially tricky road conditions, even weather, stress-free isn't just marketing fluff.
No, it implies a lot more, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests, a high level of preparation. Professional drivers are absolutely key up there. It's not just comfort, it's safety, reliability.
Minimizing that travel anxiety you might get trying to navigate it yourself.
Exactly. It lets you just look out the window and, enjoy the stunning scenery.
Okay, so beyond the promise, let's get into the practical side. The nuts and bolts for someone thinking about this Kiruna to Rovaniemi trip with FinlandTour.fi.
Right.
We're looking at, what, about 4 to 5 hours for the journey?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
Depending on conditions, of course.
And the service can handle groups up to 8 people. The starting price is listed as $810. But here's something I found pretty interesting, their pricing structure. It's not just a flat rate per person after the initial price.
Oh, how does it work?
Well, that $810 is for 1-2 adults. But then for 3-4 adults, it's $1,580 churs. And it keeps scaling up. They even list a price for 10 adults at $6,091.
Ah, okay. So bulk discounts, essentially.
Exactly. Tiered discounts.
Yeah.
What does that kind of pricing tell you about who they might be targeting?
That's quite revealing, actually. It suggests they're not just after individual tourists looking for a taxi.
Right.
By offering those significant breaks for larger groups, they're clearly positioning themselves for small tour groups, maybe bigger families, even private expeditions.
Like a bespoke shuttle service for a private party.
Precisely. Not just a standard taxi fare model. It suggests they're aiming for a segment that really values convenience, privacy, maybe exclusivity.
And is willing to pay a bit more upfront for that compared to, say, public transport, if that's even an option on these routes.
Which often it isn't, or it's very limited. So yeah, it's optimizing for the group's efficiency and experience.
Makes sense. And what's actually included in that base price? Is it an all-in package for the transfer itself?
It seems pretty comprehensive for the journey itself. The price covers the pickup from your specified point in Kiruna,
Okay.
the drop-off in Rovaniemi, the private vehicle, an allowance of 1 bag per person, which is standard,
Right.
the professional driver, naturally, and all the fuel costs. So the core A to B transfer is covered.
So no hidden fuel surcharges or anything like that?
Doesn't look like it. What it explicitly doesn't include are things like extra stops you might want to make along the way for photos or meals.
Got it. So it keeps the service focused purely on efficient transport. Any breaks or food are up to the travelers to arrange or decide on?
Exactly. Streamlined.
Okay, so that covers Kiruna to Rovaniemi, but FinlandTour.fi obviously does more. What about going west from Kiruna across the border into Norway, say, to Tromsø?
Ah, yes. The cross-border Arctic passage.
How do they handle that kind of multi-country journey? Is it a similar setup?
It is similar in principle, but it highlights another layer of complexity, cross-border logistics in the Arctic.
Right, going from Sweden to Norway.
Exactly. Again, they emphasize a private, hassle-free transfer. And they mention the vehicles are specifically equipped for long-distance Arctic travel.
Which sounds pretty crucial.
Absolutely essential, I'd say, given the terrain and potential weather. This is a longer trip, typically 5 to 6 hours.
Okay, a bit longer than Rovaniemi.
Reflecting the distance and probably more varied landscapes, the starting price is higher too, from $1,200.
And I assume the same bulk discount structure applies.
Yes, it does. Similar tiered pricing, scaling up for larger groups, they list up to $8,800 for 9-10 adults. So again, catering to those private groups.
Now, the description of the scenery for this route on their site sounds even more, well, dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about traveling through snow-covered forests, past frozen lakes, and even dramatic fjords as you get closer to the Norwegian coast.
Wow, okay.
And here's the kicker. They mention the chance to witness the northern lights during the drive, depending on the season, of course.
Right, the aurora.
And maybe even spotting wildlife like reindeer or moose. That sounds less like just a transfer and more like part of the experience itself.
That's a really good point. Mentioning things like potential northern light sightings or wildlife isn't just window dressing.
You think?
I think it subtly suggests the drivers are likely local, experienced, and probably know where and when to look out for these things. It implies the service isn't just about speed, but also about appreciating the journey.
Turning the transfer into a sort of mini expedition.
Exactly. It's a significant value add, especially for Arctic visitors. Seeing the aurora or reindeer is often a primary reason people go there.
So it elevates the journey itself. It becomes part of the destination experience, not just the bit you endure to get there.
Precisely. And the itinerary they describe follows that same clear three-phase structure. Pickup in Kiruna hotels, train station, airport, wherever you specify.
Flexible pickup.
Oh, then the scenic journey, including that border crossing into Norway, with those potential natural highlights. And finally, a flexible drop-off at your hotel or a central spot in Tromsø.
And luggage handling included throughout.
Explicitly mentioned, yes. Reinforcing that smooth, hassle-free experience they promise.
Okay, so looking at these two major routes, Kiruna Rovaniemi and Kiruna Tromsø, what overall picture does this paint of FinlandTour.fi's approach to Arctic travel transfers?
Well, it strongly suggests they're really specialized in these longer, perhaps more complex journeys across the Arctic.
Comfortable long-haul specialists.
Yes, across diverse and sometimes challenging landscapes. They seem positioned as the reliable choice for these significant cross-border or interregional routes.
Understanding that for many travelers, especially in that environment, things like reliability, comfort, and just being able to relax and enjoy the view are really paramount.
Absolutely. They handle the tricky logistics, the driving and potentially tough conditions, the border stuff, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Now, beyond these two specific journeys we've unpacked, what else does FinlandTour.fi offer? Do they have a wider network? What does that tell us?
They definitely do. Their website lists several other cab transfer options. This shows they have a broader network covering quite a few key spots in Finnish and Swedish Lapland and even further south.
Like what other routes?
We see things like Kiruna to Levi, Levi being a major ski resort in Finland, also Rovaniemi to Levi, Uvalo to Levi.
So connecting different hubs within Finnish Lapland, too.
Exactly. And even a route mentioned further south. A private transfer from Helsinki, the capital, to the nearby historic town of Porvoo.
Oh, interesting. So not exclusively Arctic, then?
Not exclusively, but the clear focus and bulk of the listed long-distance routes are definitely in that northern Arctic region. It shows a specialization up there, but perhaps an expansion or capability in other parts of Finland, too.
So it paints a picture of them aiming to be a sort of central provider for private transfers across significant parts of the Nordic region, especially Lapland.
Yeah, connecting airports, towns, resorts, catering to travelers who want those reliable point-to-point connections without the hassle of public transport schedules or multiple changes.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to the booking process itself. What should travelers know about the practicalities, payment, cancellations, that sort of thing?
Right. Terms and conditions. Bookings are designed to be instant, doable from anywhere online. They use a secured payment gateway with SSL encryption, which is standard practice for protecting card details.
Okay, secure payments. What methods do they take?
Major credit and debit cards, and also bank transfers. And importantly, they require full payment at the time of booking to confirm the reservation.
Full payment up front. Got it. And the tricky part often, cancellations.
Yes, this is crucial. For the 2024-2025 season, their policy states that bookings are non-refundable.
Non-refundable, wow.
Yes, so once you book and pay, that's it. Changes or amendments might be possible, subject to availability, and could incur extra charges. They also require those requests in writing.
Okay, that non-refundable policy really underlines the need for travelers to be very sure of their plans, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Careful planning is key. And it might make sense for people to consider travel insurance that covers cancellations for unforeseen reasons, given that policy.
Good point. It's convenient to book instantly, but you need commitment.
Now, despite that strict policy, it seems people are generally happy. You mentioned reviews earlier.
Yes, the site shows user ratings. For Kiruna to Rovaniemi, it's a solid 4.3 out of 5 stars based on 5 reviews.
And what are people saying in those reviews?
Comments highlight things like a simple booking process, a smooth ride, and a courteous and professional driver.
Okay, so hitting those key points of convenience and comfort they promise.
Seems so. And for the Kiruna to Tromsø route, the rating is even higher, 4.6 out of 5 from 4 reviews.
And the comments there.
Praising the spectacular route, confirming that scenic aspect we discussed, and one even called the journey magical.
Magical. That's strong praise for a transfer. It really is. It suggests they're delivering on that experiential element for the Tromsø trip.
So these positive reviews, focusing on professionalism, smooth rides, and the experience itself, they really back up FinlandTour.fi's claims, don't they?
They certainly seem to. Consistent praise for driver professionalism and ride comfort, especially in Arctic conditions, speaks volumes about their operational quality, good vehicles, skilled drivers.
Right. And it's also worth noting FinlandTour.fi isn't just a standalone name, is it?
No, the website states it's a subdomain or part of Eurotrail LLC. They provide a DUNS number and mention being a member since 2024.
Okay, so part of a larger, verifiable entity.
Yes, and they also state some pretty impressive operational figures, like having handled over 100,000 transactions and served over 15,000 travelers.
Wow, okay. That points to significant scale and experience.
It does. It suggests they're not a small startup, but a well-established player in the Arctic and broader Nordic travel market, specifically for these kinds of services. Adds a layer of credibility.
Okay, so to wrap things up a bit, we've taken this deep dive into FinlandTour.fi's cab services. We looked at the Kiruna to Rovaniemi route, that strategic, convenient option. Then the Kiruna to Tromsø journey, more scenic, logistically complex, crossing borders.
Right, the experiential one.
And we explored their wider network across the Nordic region, plus the practicalities of booking and their overall focus.
And it seems clear their main focus is on providing these comfortable, professional, and often visually stunning travel experiences.
Allowing you, the traveler, to just immerse yourself in the journey.
Right.
Without getting bogged down in the nuts and bolts of Arctic logistics.
Exactly. They position the travel itself, the path, as being just as important or at least a valuable part of the experience, not just the destination.
That perspective, thinking of the journey as part of the experience, not just transit.
Yeah.
It feels particularly relevant for places like the Arctic, where the landscape itself is such a huge draw. So here's something to think about for your own travels, especially if you're planning a trip to somewhere unique or maybe a bit challenging logistically, like the Arctic. How might investing in a truly stress-free scenic transfer, like the kind FinlandTour.fi, seems to offer fundamentally change how you enjoy that trip?
Good question.
Could it shift your mindset, allow you to relax and just absorb your surroundings right from the moment you set off, turning what could be stressful travel time into, well, an extended part of your actual adventure? Something to consider.